All right, you guys, thank you for joining me. I am going to film clips and take pictures of my next adventure. No, it's time to build a new computer. I built my last one 10 years ago, so it's definitely got a good run. And yeah, it's time. So that's this weekend's project. Hopefully I can get it done in one day. Typically, it takes an hour for someone to do it, but it's been 10 years, so I'm a little bit out of practice. We'll see. But I wanted to show the parts out of their boxes. You saw the picture just a second ago. This is the motherboard. I went with an ASRock Z390 Tai Chi. This is the actual motherboard itself here. I'm keeping it in the plastic until I'm ready to build. I usually go with Asus's, but I don't know. This is the one that I found that consistently had good reviews. And ASRock is a reputable brand. Comes with all little bits and pieces. Love that it comes with an installation guide, a manual. But I gotta tell you, it's rare to even use an optical drive. They don't give you a stick at all. It's just it's a CD or a DVD-ROM for the drivers. I'm like, dude, really? I mean, I have no plans of installing an optical drive. So hopefully I don't need that. Maybe I can get it online. It's just silly. I mean, come on, give me a thumb drive. That's my only beef that I have with that. And I think EVGA does the same thing on the graphics card too. I decided to go with fan cooling because I've never built it with liquid cooling yet. Even though I know it's changed a lot. But I actually read reviews for this particular company, Noctua's, that this fan can keep it cooler than like 120 millimeter liquid cooling system, AIO system. So I'm like, I'm going to stick with what I know and use one of these. They're not the prettiest fans, but they do a great job, and they come with like a huge heat sink. It's crazy. This is probably one of the most expensive parts of the build. This is a graphics card. I am doing a slightly less than top-of-the-line build, so, and I also find that the RTX cards are still not very reliable, so this is still a GTX. It's a 1070, and it's very pretty and very heavy, and I swear every time I build a new computer, these things get more and more massive. They're huge. And the nice thing about this motherboard, it comes reinforced with the PCIe slot, so it can handle this a little bit better, at least in theory. I have not taken this out of the box completely yet. This is my power supply. It's an 850, I believe, 850 watt gold. That's what makes it run. Well, that's what gives it power to make it run. And this is the brain. This is the CPU. I went with an i7. I don't overclock. I don't really find the need for it. So I went with the 8700, just the 8700 rather than the 8700K, which is meant for overclocking. And it's weird, I read somewhere this did not come with a stock cooler, but it has a fan and a cooler in here, but I'm going to replace that with the Noctua fan. I usually don't use this, but I'm going to this time. This is a static grounding thing, so you don't short out anything. This is a hard drive, believe it or not. I'm finally moving away from the old disk drive. I didn't realize when I bought it. It's still compatible with my motherboard, but this is a SATA. It's not I think they call it an NVMe drive. So it's slightly slower than the NVMe drives, but it's still light years beyond what I have right now. So I'm good with this as long as it works. RAM, 16 gigabytes to start. I may upgrade that later. I was going to go with the 3200 or the 3000. But since I don't overclock, it's going to be pulled down anyway to 2666. So I just bought the 2666 cards. And that's upgradable, though. And then I have to add more bling to my case. So I bought 2 extra fans. And they're not the RGBs, but they do have the accent, the blue accent on the outside. And this is my tower. This is a Fractal Meshify C. It has one of those clear windows so you can like see everything inside. And it has 2 case fans, one in the front and one in the back. But I'm going to take out the case fan here in the front and add it to the top as an exhaust like this one. and then I'm going to put the two thermotakes in the front to intake the air and just have the flow work that way. So I'm going to get started on this and show you what I can. I don't have a tripod set up where I can just set it up and watch me as I work, unfortunately, but I will take short clips as I can and then pictures, and hopefully everything works. It should. It's been a while. The hardest part of a build is, for me, plugging everything into the motherboard, and you know, and then the software is always fun because you're dealing with Windows. So far, I've removed both the side panels of the new case. I'm going to remove, and then I found some accessories that I have to use. I'm going to remove this. This is the little panel for the power supply. And this is the first one I've seen that there's an actual shroud. So once I connect it, I believe I can put that down there and feed the wires down here. So the power supply is kind of hidden. It's kind of interesting. And I've got some music in the background, just some random station out here. It helps me to listen to music when I build. This is the front. I had to remove the front panel in order to get to this area because the heads of the screws on the case are right here. So I'll remove that, put it over here on the top. This is really easy to get to. This is magnetic. This is this little filter cover. And then install the thermotakes. Okay, so the two thermotakes have been installed. I've got the wires kind of pulled out and around here for now. I will eventually feed it back through when I get the motherboard in. This I did not move. This is the one that I moved from the front and I put it towards the back to act as another exhaust. And that's all the fans I'm doing. I'm not going too overboard, but these have LED lights right down there that should show up as a nice blue. I'm not sure how much is going to show up with the Meshify stuff on it. Okay, power supply is in. Now comes the part where we take these little bits. These are like motherboard mounts, and we screw them into the entire bottom of the case. And what's going to happen is I'm going to put the motherboard on top of this, and then there's a little threading on one side. Oops, that's the tool. And you actually can screw in the motherboard that way and secure it. Not too tightly, but... So this is really fun with my eyesight, finding the little bits, but that's all right. I'm getting there. My motherboard is a full ATX, and this supposedly fits a full ATX, but it's going to be a tight fit. But that's all right, as long as it fits. Okay, it fit, barely, but it fit. A little bit tighter than my old case. Anyways, I've got it screwed in and bolted down. And my next step will probably be to do like, mount the PSU, put the RAM in, put the new M.2 drive in, which is going to be completely new to me, so it'll be interesting. And then I'm going to start on the heatsink for the CPU. Graphic card will come last, and then I get to try to figure out where to plug things in. I'll probably plug everything in before I put the graphics card in, because things get really tight because the graphic card is so huge. But yeah, wish me luck. Okay, chip is in. Just put the RAM in, push it in until it locked. It's nice and secure. Yes, got my static card in. I normally don't do it, but since I live in the desert and it's sometimes dry, I thought it would be a good idea. All right, next, I'm going to do the hard drive next, the M.2 drive. Components keep getting tinier and tinier. That is so small, and that's a hard drive. This little screw is very, very hard to get out and put back in, especially putting back in. I've got all sorts of tools, and I had to do it with my fingers, and that was even a chore. This is cool. This little area right there comes with its own heat sink, so I get to put that over the actual hard drive. Got the CPU cooler in. That was kind of a pain in the butt. you have to remove the fan before you do this, and that for some reason I was having a difficult time. So I got some paste in there, got this on there. It's smaller than I thought, but it's still pretty bulky. Got the fan in, and I was able to plug it into the CPU. The CPU fan, it's down there. It's kind of hard to get to. I think I'm going to connect power to the motherboard first, which is there, because I have to run wires from the power source, which is here behind, and these things open up from the back, so it helps make it look a lot neater. I've also got to figure out where to plug in all the extra fans, because once I put the graphics card in, it's going to be hard to maneuver a lot of this stuff. I still have to plug the power into the graphics card, but at least it's just one thing I have to worry about. There's also, there we are. This in the front, you've got some USB headers at the power. There's cords that's actually underneath here that I have to run through and plug into the motherboard as well. So let me get to that next. We're getting close, actually. I did not film me trying to get all the itty-bitty pins in, because, yeah, there was a lot of swearing going on, as happens all the time. I can't see the small, the case fan pins especially. I can't see what I'm doing exactly, and so I'm doing a lot of things by feel, and it's a very small space, and I don't really have teeny fingers, although they are smaller than some guys, and guys build this all the time. Anyway, so everything's plugged in, hopefully correctly. I'm going to slap this together, plug it in, and see if everything lights up. If not, I might have to bring it into work for some people with some smaller hands to just make sure I plugged in things correctly. And right now, I'm not happy with the cable management. It's very messy in here, surprisingly. Got fan stuff in the way. I'm trying to find little places where I can tuck it away. I'll work on that. There are little rubber areas where you can push it through to the backside, but it's not reachable by everything, unfortunately. But hey, as long as it works and it runs cool enough, that's fine. This I gotta do something with, though. Jeez. All right, let's plug it in. Let's hope it starts up and lights up correctly. It's alive. It's alive, I tell you. It's very subtle lighting. I might have to add more blingage. Unfortunately, the reflection of the windows right there. Let me turn this around. Hold on. I almost wish it was dark, because hey, you can see me in the reflection. You know, I'm gonna take more footage tonight after it gets dark. But this is the inside. Everything is lit up properly. Oh, that's kind of neat. There's accent pieces on the motherboard I was not aware of. That's kind of cool. All the fans are running, and it's super duper quiet. I mean, I can barely tell that it's running, the fans. Gotta get rid of those wires, though. Yikes. Now, of course, I haven't put an operating system on this or anything, so we'll see if that works. That's always fun, but so far, so good. And I'll show you at night when you can see the lighting effects a little bit better. I think one thing I may add, since the bottom is really plain and open, is like a strip of RGB lights. Just, you know, you need some unicorn puke. And plug that in, and that'll light up the box a bit. Or if I wanted to stay with the green, or the blue and the white scheme, I could do maybe a strip of blue. Just something to give it a little bit more color. Okay, as promised, that's the front. And this is at night. So you see the two LED fans and the motherboard. And the GPU. Alright, the physical work is done. Now I got to work tomorrow on the software and hope everything goes well. so software day begins. I get to install Windows, which is what it's doing right now, and then install drivers, and then put my files in and hope it all works. All right. Well, today has been install software and my files, etc., etc., and we have liftoff, and it works, and it's stable, which is the most important. Now, what I'm going to do is do some stress testing and downloading League of Legends. I've already played some Hearthstone, but that's not really graphic intensive. I'm not really playing anything that's graphic intensive right now because my old system couldn't do it. So I might have to go shopping on Steam here and see what there is to see. Store. It's popping up. I have dual screen, so it's kind of interesting. I love it. I have all this room. So I can go through here and look for something that hopefully isn't too expensive. I don't want to spend money, but I want something to test the machine and have some fun at the same time. I use this for you know, writing and you know, your everyday use too, but my old system had gotten to a point where I couldn't play any games, any of the new games, I should say. Not many of the new games, because the specs weren't high enough anymore. But now I shall. It could play League of Legends, but there are other games like Fortnite. I haven't tried Fortnite. My old system could not do it, but this system will definitely be able to. Hey, here we go. Let's play Farming Simulator 2019. Heck yeah. I made a trip to Best Buy today because it's a system I built myself. It didn't come with a mouse and keyboard. And my mouse and keyboard was actually over 10 years old, I think. So I bought a little Corsair one. I like this. I like the way it feels. It's like a mechanical keyboard with a lot of bounce. And I just got one of the, I think it's a Razer mouse. Those are pretty good. Hope that this one's going to last a decade like my last build did. I tried to be lazy and buy a pre-built, but they weren't working properly. This one, so far so good. In fact, if I remember to, before I sign off for this video, I'm going to bring up the bio so you can see more detail for those of you who like that kind of detail. I hope you enjoyed it. A little bit different than my usual videos, but yeah, I wanted to document the build more than just pictures like I did last time, and you know, maybe somebody learned something. I don't know. I'm curious about your feedback, especially for those of you who actually build machines too. Again, this was not meant to be top of the line, but it was supposed to be a nice, stable, good gaming machine that you can multitask with too, whether that's streaming video or you know, writing or what have you. All right, you guys have a good one. I'll see you next time. So this is the UEFI, I'll call it that. It basically gives you some information about what's going on heat-wise and what you have. This shows you the chip that I have, the processing speed, total memory, and what kind of sticks I have. I'll probably expand these at some point to 32 gigabytes. Again, because I don't overclock, I got the 8700 rather than the 8700K, and I did not get the RAM that's like 3200 or 300 because it would just downgrade it to 266. My chassis fan, I actually just stepped up the CPU fan to performance because I don't know if that's a good temp or not, because it's Celsius and my brain doesn't work that way because I'm an American and we didn't really learn it that well. Motherboard temperature is fine. CPU is probably fine. I'm curious about the CPU voltage though, if I can get some feedback from you people about that. But yeah, I'm trying to get the CPU to drop a little bit. It was a little bit hotter than that before I turned it on performance, and I don't hear it. So it runs so quiet. It's really nice. So I just bumped that up a little bit. I can bump that up one more to full speed. And already, it just popped back up. It knocked it down to 41 degrees Celsius rather than 41 and a half, but there's not much of a difference. So I'm gonna put that back in performance and just let that stay there. And not too shabby. Anyways, feedback would be great, and I will see you guys next time. All right. Have a good weekend.